Job well done. Puede ver Pakowski, centra. And Riga lead.
Welcome to the Latvian Football Podcast, where today we are going to talk about Virsliga 2023. Now that it has ended, what happened, what are the final standings, who scored how many, who performed, who didn't perform, all that kind of stuff. A little bit bittersweet. It has been a long run, but all of a sudden it's done, and we are here now.
Yeah, exactly. It's been quite the season. Very exciting. I think overall a very good season. Still didn't know the champions until the very end, even the last minutes of the last game day, which was very exciting. And in the end, somehow Riga, richest club, who were at the top of the table for the 33 of the 36 rounds, managed to lose its place, and RFS in the end became the champions of Virsliga 2023. So congratulations to them, and what a game day it was. Both teams sort of went up and down. Even the organizers of the tournament had to, be somewhere between Riga and Valmiera to see where to take the cup. I think it's always very, it adds to the whole drama of the situation, and it's nice to see how it folds out. And in the end, RFS became the victors by winning against Metta 1-0. Riga 1-1 against Valmiera, which meant that, yes, they let RFS in front of them, and that's it. RFS are the champions.
Yeah, this is something of a Virsliga special. Third year in a row, the title is decided in the last round. So last year it was Valmiera and Riga, and Valmiera won as Riga lost to RFS in the final year Riga derby. And the year before that, RFS managed to get themselves the title also in the very last round in a game against Daugavpils. So it's becoming something of a Virsliga special that you really don't know who exactly is going to win until the very, very, very end. And if somehow you're listening to this podcast and you don't know what happened on 11th of November, well, I mean, you should really go and watch the highlights. It was fantastic, as you just said. Nobody really knew. Actually, everything was in Riga's hands. They could have sealed their first championship since 2020 there and then in Valmiera, but they didn't. You went to that game, so maybe a little bit of you have a bit more of insight into how it was, but they didn't do their job, and RFS barely did theirs, or not even barely. They did what they had to do. They won, and they became champions, leapfrogging Riga by 1 point at literally the bottom of the ninth, to use an American metaphor.
Yeah, it was an interesting day. Anything could have happened. If the previous 2 years the team who were in the lead sort of did their job and won the games, last year Valmiera won against Liepaja, so the Riga derby where RFS won and sort of helped Valmiera, it didn't really matter because they would have been champions anyway. But yeah, in this case it was a bit of a different situation because RFS had to play Metta, which it was almost clear that they were going to win, but Riga had to play Valmiera away, which is never an easy game. They already lost there once this season, and Valmiera didn't want anyone celebrating at their home ground and managed to get a draw. And yeah, Riga didn't do their job. They didn't look necessarily bad, but I was surprised by how Valmiera played. They were so good, and if they played like that the whole season, I think they would be the three title contenders. It was a bit of a weird one because they didn't even have their best squad. Slieda was disqualified with the red card the previous game. Alekseičiks came in as a center back, his first game of the season as a center back, and only his second or third game overall because he was injured for the most of the season. And he was so good, and just out of nowhere, the whole team was very good. Alstos made a few great saves, and they went 1-0 up, and Riga managed to score in the 90th and drew it 1-1, but couldn't make it in the end in the last 5 minutes of the at the time, and that was it. But it was interesting that RFS game was delayed like 5 minutes, so when Riga game ended, they still had some hope because RFS were in the lead against Metta 1-0, but they still could have maybe drawn, in which case Riga would have won, but it was unlikely that Metta were going to score. Although it was important for them as well, they had tiny bit of a chance to also not become second to last, but it wasn't to be, and RFS in the end held their win and went on to celebrate their second ever Virsliga title.
Yeah, the game wasn't delayed, it was the RFS delayed it by taking their sweet time getting out of the dressing rooms, and they made this little tunnel where each player coming onto the field had to high-five the whole squad and technical staff and everyone, and while Metta were just standing there freezing their butts off. It was plus a couple of degrees, and so this little kind of very clever time, I don't know, they won like 7 minutes. The game started like 7 minutes late or something like that, which allowed them to get a bit of a glimpse into the future of what's going on in Valmiera at the time, and it worked out perfectly. At one point, RFS fans started yelling Valmiera from the stands to let the players know that Valmiera has gone up, and funny enough, on the other side in Valmiera fans were chanting RFS to play a bit of mind games with the Riga players. It was hilarious, amazing to see, so much fun. It was fantastic. So if you haven't got a clue of what really came down, go and watch highlights. Or even if you do, just watch highlights anyway. It's amazing to relive those moments. It's fantastic.
Also should mention that this sort of deliberate delay of time it doesn't really occur in Virsliga a lot, so it was something sort of, not special, but very clever, a very clever thing to do, especially in the last round. So hats off to RFS, I guess. Also can sort of play these types of games, so fair enough. Yeah, that means RFS first, Riga second, and should we go through the rest of the table now?
Well, let's maybe talk a bit about these two, also in terms of how much ahead they were relative to the rest of the table. Not just in terms of points, and there are 30 points difference between number 2 place and number 3 place, so that pretty much sums things up. But also in terms of goals scored and conceded, which is absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, if you look at it and you don't know Virsliga, you're gonna think it's just 2 football teams and then a bunch of amateurs. But that's not the case. Virsliga is very competitive, and whenever a foreign coach is asked what they think of it, and not just some schmucks, but people the likes of Thorsten Fink, when he was here for a brief time, they all say that this competition is much higher level than it appears to be. So it's not the case that there's just 2 Riga teams and then amateur squads. Not at all. But even with that, RFS scored 96 goals this season, while conceding only 18, giving them a 78 goals scored to conceded difference. 78. Riga scored 89, conceding 21, giving them 68, so 10 fewer. But here is the crazy part. The next best goal scored to conceded difference, Valmiera has that in number 4 position, but it's 7. It's 7. 61 goals fewer than second best.
Yeah, it is quite incredible. They are really becoming the 2 giants of each league. And if last season Valmiera did sort of this incredible run with an amazing squad, I think maybe even like the best squad ever in Virsliga, just because of how young and good they were. But this season, as you said, 7 for Valmiera, who are in 4th place, 5 for Auda, and even the goals scored. Auda and Valmiera scored roughly almost 2 times less than Riga and scored. It's just it's weird looking at these stats now, because during the season you don't really feel it. I think even when Auda play RFS or Riga, Valmiera play RFS and Riga, they're competitive. It's not like they're being beaten like little kids or whatever. But looking at this, And I think the whole difference is probably the games against the lower table, because I think RFS and Riga tend to sort of get over them easier, while Auda and Valmiera lost their points quite a lot against them. And it was a very competitive season, especially I think 3rd place through the 10th place. But even RFS and Riga had some problems. Drew quite a lot, I guess. RFS lost only once, Riga lost twice, RFS drew 8 times, Riga 7 times. But the goal difference is crazy, and it just shows their quality, and either one of them could have won and would have deserved to win, and would have been interesting to see either team go through the Champions path next season in the Champions League. But, well, it is what it is, and RFS this time.
Yeah. So number 3 is Auda, which is their first silverware of Virsliga ever, bronze, only 2nd season, in a long time, right?
Back in Virsliga, since like 2000.
And so in the current Virsliga, let's say, which is amazing. Last year won the cup. This year debut in Euro Cups, and now a bronze. Very well done. 16 games won, 10 draws, 10 losses, 5 goals scored to conceded difference. Coached by the Finn Simo Valakari, who throughout the season, he kind of, when he got appointed, he rolled in as a bit of a rock star, I think, and then got very quiet and very serious while Auda was trying to get over their initial troubles in the first lap of Virsliga, and then kind of became progressively more serious. Basically, more contemplative and I don't know, darker, but it's just a very interesting fella he is.
Yeah, for me, probably the most interesting to see team to see, because of the style they played. They kept the ball a lot, passed it around a lot, and if at the start it was sort of questionable, people were talking that maybe this isn't working, etc. But they stuck to it, and in the end, it came to fruition. Of course, they got some players as well who could actually score goals with, relative regularity. But still, it was a nice team to watch. And 3rd place is a great achievement for them. I think overall they had a very good season. Also, they have this sort of title of being the daughter club of Riga FC. A lot of players who don't fit the style or just not good enough for Riga go over to Auda. But with that, if they can get the 3rd place, just behind Riga in the table, not in terms of overall the points, but still, I think it shows a lot, and I think it's a great team to have in Virsliga, and I hope they keep going and aren't this sort of a few season project, and then when things maybe not go that well, everything breaks down. I hope it's not the case, because so far a very nice team to see. I like how they are also online. They have some nice social media, nice fans, and I think overall the vibe around the club is very nice, and maybe a bit even different for Virsliga. And it makes them even better to watch and see, and to see them get the 3rd place as well.
Yeah, it is. It's a unique club. It's not just another club. Obviously they have their history and identity, although this Auda, as we spoke many times before in the podcast, is not really the same Auda that gained promotion to the Virsliga. In many ways, it's a brand new club, but in other ways it isn't. And they play a unique style for Virsliga. They play this very Spanish style of football with, heavy possession-oriented, technical, not really going for goal all that much. And that was a major issue in the beginning of the season. You said that they didn't really have someone who could score goals. Once they got that person from Riga, then things really clicked together, and Auda became a much more effective and dangerous team. And I hear that it's also a very well organized and very efficiently run club, which is great news. I personally didn't really see a lot of identity in it when we started back in March. That has changed. The fan movement is growing. It's in some ways it's pivoting over from the Auda female team which is also unique to see. As I would speculate, usually it's the other way around. But yeah, they have some prominent fans rising. There, as you said, social media and identity is being developed, or kind of maybe reborn or reconfigured. And that's great to see. It's great to see. I do hope that they keep on this path. It's not my personal favorite style of football, I admit. But I'm very, very happy that we have them.
Yeah, it's just unique for Virsliga, and like it or not like it, but I think it's good to have it as a sort of, something new, and it's always nice to see.
Yeah, something for everyone,
Yeah.
So number 4 is, the former champions Valmiera. They managed to secure European competitions for next year. Won 14 games, drew 11, lost 11, with as we mentioned, 7 goals scored to concede the difference. In many ways, I would say a disappointing season for Valmiera, but in other ways, it's also kind of what one would expect with benefit of hindsight, having seen what happened to the squad, both at the beginning of season and during summer. And with all that in mind, I guess it's probably not too bad.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of players from last season, their best ones went away. Jokota, Krolis, Metta. Yeah, their squad was just the best players away, and that's it. And before the season, it didn't even look that bad, because they got some replacements and looked overall okay. But then I think their best chance at some title hopes in Varslavans and Gay pretty much over in the first few games, when they both got serious injuries out for the season. And then, as you said, during the season, more cleaning of the squad with Jelisko going away. Some interesting movements during the European games, with the player coming in, playing 3 games, and then going away again. Yeah, and I think considering everything, a 4th place is still nice, because they secured European cups, which is, I think, very important for the club. Got to see some new players, a different style of Valmiera, because they still had to adapt, and still got some wins, and overall were competitive. The only team to beat both RFS and Riga this season, which is also a very good stat, considering they became only 4th. And it was a very up and down season for them. As I said, managed to beat Riga RFS, but then lost to the likes of Supernova, which just shows that there wasn't that much stability, but still the identity was there. Jurgis Counts was being Jurgis Counts, their head coach, and they have a lovely fan base as well. The games at Dalin Stadium is always also very nice to see, a good stadium. So it is a sort of football city, and a 4th place is, I think, very accurate for them this season. And with the resources they had in the end, and considering everything, I think it's actually a relatively good season, and they can be proud of themselves.
I think it was Arkadijs Birjuks, one of the primary football commentators in Latvia. I think he mentioned basically that if you look at the Valmiera squad last season and now, so at the end of this season, I think it was just Balodis from the top 11 who stayed. They mentioned Tonishevs, but he's not really, he wasn't a starting 11 player last season. Yeah. So, and I mean, that's bonkers. You have essentially 10 players leave. And if you look at it that way, I mean, 4th place is pretty darn good. And I think in an interview with Maris Verpakovskis, the RFS general manager, he mentioned that with all the transfers of Valmiera selling their squad after their golden season, they essentially earned 2 years worth of their budget in the process, which is okay, fine. We might frown upon results or game performance, or we have our expectations from seeing Valmiera just being completely unstoppable last season, and then just the difference is shocking. But it's only good for the club if this is the financial performance they achieved. Then in light of that, 4th place in Virsliga is also pretty decent competitive performance. So I think I've been quite negative about Valmiera throughout the season on the podcast. But looking back at it all, and personally also not forgetting my inbuilt bias that obviously as an RFS supporter, I'm very chill with Valmiera now after they held Riga back. I think it's pretty good. And there's certainly room to grow. So we'll see what Valmiera does next season.
Yeah, and you mentioned the 10 players from the starting 11 going away. Well, it wasn't really that, because throughout the season there was still Jelgava and Metta came back at some point. So, a couple there and there. But in the end, that is a correct stat. And that considering is, as I said, a good achievement. And I should also mention that they actually didn't overall also played that bad. If you remember, I think it was the second or third game, probably third one, against Auda, better than 4-0. It seemed that, Valmiera is still there. And also looking at their stats, their XG, expected goals, is much higher than their scored ones. XG is 61 and they scored only 47, which, now that thinking about it, I think it was the classical Valmiera. They had a lot of opportunities, just couldn't convert them. I think the player that got injured, Gay, was very famous with it a couple of seasons ago. He just couldn't score from simple positions, and I think it really came with Valmiera this year as well. Both Brazilian strikers, I think, could have scored more. Gaucho, and could have even done better in the end. And I think overall they really, despite the placement, the fact that they could beat RFS and Riga, showed that they still were worthy of being the current champions, up until now, of course. Fair play to Valmiera.
Following Valmiera is Liepaja. Liepaja was a tricky one. They finished 5th with 51 points, 2 points behind Valmiera, 14 wins, 9 draws and 13 losses. Kind of gives you a bit of a good insight into the pattern of play by Liepaja. And they have -2 goals scored to conceded difference. Now, Liepaja is a bit of a controversial, or maybe not controversial, but contentious case in Virsliga this year, simply because I don't even know how many players they've gone through during the season, but they've basically been getting them wholesale. Liepaja has renewed their squad multiple times during the season in fairly unpredictable and sometimes apparently nonsensical ways even. And so this is where it gets a little bit of a disagreement. I would say that they underperformed on account of maybe the reputation of the club, the weight that it's supposed to carry in Virsliga, and maybe ambitions. I don't know what the ambitions are in the inside, but I would expect Liepaja wants to be like a top 4 maybe club consistently, and they have been, and they are after all former champions. On the other hand, given the squad rotations, some say that number 5 is an overperformance for Liepaja. What do you say?
I would say they are exactly where they should be. Yeah, as you said, it depends on how you look at it. They underperformed or overperformed based on just the footballing facts. I think they did overperform because, no style of play, especially at the start of the season. I remember sometime during the season I said maybe we're starting to see, some shape, some idea, some identity of football, but in the end I would say just no, it wasn't there.
But we did. The moment I remember we were recording these episodes, and to be like, all right, we now know what Liepaja is about. And then they would just swap half the squad, and there would be like 5 players that nobody has ever heard of before, just shipped over from Senegal or wherever they were from. And then we have a completely different squad again. And this happened like twice.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to understand what's going on inside of the minds of the owners and the directors of the club, because I think even after the last game of the season, or second to last, the coach in the press conference said something about he doesn't really care about the European championships, and etc., etc. And it just seemed that then what's the point of the team, because they're getting in these new players who aren't really performing that well. Some would show something on an occasion, but overall it just seemed very weird. And yeah, we talked about Liepaja a lot, so I don't want to go too deep into it. But just overall, it was a weird season for them, a weird team. I'm surprised they even were so close to contending for the European football, and I think it's lucky that they didn't get it, because I can't see them doing better than Valmiera or Auda in it. I think they would be battered by any team that goes. Well, of course, not any team. Maybe you get some small countries, but it was a weird season, and it's sad to see, because Liepaja is also a very prominent city in terms of football, and a lot of players nowadays in the national team are from Liepaja, and it just seemed that there's at some point drifted into a weird direction, and I think they themselves don't know where they're heading, what's their goal with football in Liepaja. I hope the owner also doesn't get bored of being the Liepaja owner, because we need Liepaja in Virsliga, but just not this Liepaja. I think something needs to change. I think they should maybe try and focus more on the actual Latvians and then the Liepaja academy players, because no matter how good they are, I think it's always been Liepaja identity to do that. And even if they at one season try that and maybe not even get top 4, maybe not the top 5, maybe they become 6th, 7th, I think it may be good for the long run. But it seems that it's not the goal of the current Liepaja owners, so it's hard to say, but it's overall a weird team, because despite their their style of play, they still became 5th, quite close to top 4. They have a 4th highest top scorer of Virsliga, Dodo, which I don't know how he's there, because now thinking about, I know he's a good player and he scores a lot, but this season can't really remember too much about him, but somehow he has got these goals, and also joint top assister in Tidenbergs. So there was something about the team, but it was just not clicking. You had a few players who were stable, but then a lot of rotation and everything we said about bringing new players in, and it's just disappointing to see, because I think they, with the resources, they should do better, but unfortunately they are where they are.
Yeah, it's like you said, what's the point of the team if it's clearly not to develop local players? There's a different team that's going to be playing in Virsliga next season that kind of does that for that region. And if going to Europe is not the point, then what the point is to spend money? I mean,
it's hard to say. Maybe the owner just likes football, and he maybe lives in Liepaja. He enjoys summer in Liepaja, and he wants on weekends to see some football. Maybe, I don't know, but overall the aim is not clear, and
it just seems like Liepaja spent this season in a perpetual preseason mode. Constantly trying out new players, rotating squad, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. But it wasn't preseason. So I guess, they both under and overperformed, depending on what you're focusing on. But there they are, number 5. I'm a bit disappointed, I guess. Many people are not surprised. Number 6 spot, however, is very much the opposite of that. People are delighted and surprised by who is the current tenant at the end of Virsliga of the position number 6.
Yeah, Jelgava. It's very nice to see the newcomers of Virsliga. Yeah, what a season they have had, honestly. Coming in with Perkons at the wheel, the coach who has been with the team through many years, and then unfortunately he left due to some, personal reasons, something to do with the relationship with the owners of the club. At that point, I thought, it's gonna be sad, but new coach came in and nothing really changed. Maybe their style of play, but they still managed to get good results. In the end, 40 points, 6th place, and even though the difference between 6th and 7th is 4 points, and between 6th and 5 is 11. I would say that Jelgava and Liepaja were very similar teams actually in terms of their capabilities. If you look, overall through the season, if they had to now play, I wouldn't bet on Liepaja to win comfortably. I think Jelgava have been very good and at times even a bit unlucky with their results. I think they could have been closer to the top 5. Then again, a lot of teams in the lower side of the table could have been. But overall, what a team, just full of young players, promising players. And you can just see that they've been a team for a long time and they were doing very well.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about Liepaja. Jelgava gave Riga a run for their money. What was it, 5-3 at Skonto?
5-3, yes, exactly, yeah.
So, there's it's interesting. Yeah, when Perkons came with the team to Virsliga, I think most commentators, in a way, ourselves included, predicted that the team will struggle, if not get relegated right back down to the second division at the end of season. When he started, it just first games 2-1 against loss against Riga, almost getting a draw. It was like one of those sports biopics, that are meant to inspire you, and it's like this team of young guys who are from the same small city, have been playing together since they were kids. They go to this top football competition in the country. They go against the richest club, the club with the largest budget, with all these flashy players, and they almost pull off a win. And it was so nice to see, and it was like a breath of, I won't say fresh air, because Virsliga is not the competition that is dominated by these mercenary players. But it was really nice. It was really light, and it was like, so this is, it's like the football at its most romantic naivete that you can imagine. And then Perkons left, and we were very skeptical about the new old coach coming in. But yeah, as you said, the results were fine. Tactics changed. Jelgava just started playing the park the bus approach, heavy on the counterattacks. Suppose that makes sense for that team, and it paid off. Playing for the result. Number 6 secured themselves Virsliga for another year. Some players got to go to larger teams, like Pateičuks, who got bought by Liepaja over the summer. Other players got called up to international duty that they weren't previously, and some went on trials abroad, like Maslov's. Where did he go? Do you remember?
Poland.
Yeah, didn't really work out, but still great. So just Jelgava, fantastic. Just hope that they can delight us with this approach of theirs in the next season as well.
Yeah, exactly, and also a big city where football has always been a popular sport, and then it was sad to see a few seasons that there wasn't really a team there. But this new Jelgava came back up, and it's just very lovely. Also, random shout, but really big fan of their kids. Really love it.
Amazing kids.
Yeah, one profile on Twitter also mentioned that. Yeah, it's nice to see. And overall, the club seems to be, I'd say, run surprisingly well, because I thought that it was mostly all Perkons, but even after he left, it seemed to still be fine, and that brings me confidence that next season it's also going to be fine. And good mix of these young Latvian players who've been with the team for a long time, but also some good foreign players coming in. Also Valmiera, I think, was good in defense. So just nice team to look at, to watch, and very, very delighted that they're the top of the bottom of the table.
Yeah. Trailing them is Daugavpils in number 7, which is same place where they finished last season. 9 wins, 9 draws, 18 losses, minus 12, scored to conceded difference. I don't really know if there's much to say about Daugavpils, other than, that's kind of where one would expect to see them. They had a terrible start to the season, then they managed to get things back together. But I guess it was a bit too late to really make a difference. And they're number 7, and that makes sense. And I mean, that's all there is to it, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say they were also another team. Well, I wouldn't say another. The first one depends, but a team who underperformed because I think they were actually very good this season. I think a lot of results were very unlucky in which they sort of conceded in the end, which made them lose or draw the game. They had some very good clashes with top teams, RFS and Riga. Managed to get some points of Valmiera, I believe, maybe Auda as well, and they were a solid team, but just something wasn't clicking overall. But it was nice to see that they weren't that dependent maybe on older players, and some new players came in and had a semi-stable season. Some unfortunate injuries as well, but yeah, it's just an interesting team, and also sort of this team from Latvian football folklore, because they're the team representing Latgale, the region to the east of Latvia, bordering Russia, and it's a very specific region in Latvia, I'd say, and a very specific city, and that's nice to see that they're represented. And I think every away day to Daugavpils is a sort of a tough thing to the other Virsliga teams, and it's interesting, and I love having them, and I think they could do better, and I hope they do that, because it seems that they're doing everything right, but just some things are not really clicking. But they still have some players who have been very good this season. It made the team very nice, also exciting to watch, and just considering their resources and what they had, I think it's a fair placement. But I think they could do better. It just if they just maybe believe themselves more, or get that X factor, which I don't know what is, but could do better. But 7th, I think they've had an okay season.
I think the biggest the biggest positive developments for Daugavpils happened off the pitch, not on the pitch this season, because finally the conflict with the municipality was resolved with the arbitration of the Latvian Football Federation. So there will now be investment from the municipality into the club and into the infrastructure, because at the opening episodes we talked about that we're concerned that Daugavpils might cease to exist as a sports club. That's how bad things were there. So that's been resolved. Daugavpils finished the season as the youngest team in Virsliga, the median age of 20.2, I think I checked earlier, but didn't write down. And I think then it was Jelgava and only then Metta, who are traditionally sort of have the reputation of being the youngest squad. So point is, it's a very, very young team, players from the academy, players from elsewhere. So maybe we'll see more from Daugavpils next year. But this year, number 7 makes sense.
And then number 8, Tukums, another team which are very nice to watch when they play. Very good style of football, some exciting players, a lot of loanees from other clubs, that has to be said. But yeah, another team which I think they could have done better. They had a lot of very interesting games, close games, but also I would say they are where they're supposed to be. I think Daugavpils, Tukums, either one of them could have been the 7th place. Only 1 point separates them as well, 36 and 35 points. And they had some also ups and downs. A very, very interesting, exciting game against RFS, in which RFS almost could have lost their any competition for the championship, but managed to win in the end. Heartbreak for Tukums, of course, but still they were responsible for this, one of probably the best games of the season. And some good players who scored some goals, showed some nice plays. Also, first player in the national team from Tukums as well, in Bogdan Samoilovs. So they had their ups and downs, had their positive and not so positive moments, but overall I'd say it's a nice season for them. It's also a club we need in Virsliga, who can get the loan players from the teams where they can't really get that much playing time and prove themselves there, and also a relatively big city in Latvia, and it's just also nice to have them, because they're also very different in how they play, and And as long as they stay up in Virsliga, as they did this season as well, I think it's a fine achievement for them. And as Daugavpils, I think they could do better. And that's also why the bottom table of Virsliga is always also very exciting, because it's like a championship in itself. And Tukums is always a good contender of it.
Yeah, I agree. Although I'm a bit disappointed to see Tukums as low. They were very exciting to watch last season, and the style of play didn't change. They play very open, very dynamic football, oftentimes, especially when going against stronger teams, very much to their own detriment. And 0-6 and 0-7 losses are a testament to that, and I think even larger than that. I mean, they have minus 36 scored to conceded goals statistic, which is the second worst and the worst of teams that will actually remain in Virsliga. So there's that. The one thing that kind of is a bit upsetting, or maybe unfortunate is a better word, is that you can see how dependent teams like that are on these loanees. At the beginning of the season, they had Faustas Stepanovicius, who was very much responsible for most of attacking efforts of Tukums. An amazing season for this young Lithuanian who was on loan from RFS, got his first call-up to the Lithuanian national team, and then went ahead and got himself sold to Bulgarian Premier League side, Botev Plovdiv or something like that. But then he left, and Tukums sort of, you could just see how much work he was pulling. It was similar last year as well. So it's just, there's a lot of turbulence. It's almost like two different teams, to be honest. Tukums in the first part, so pre-summer, and Tukums post-summer are significantly different.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're that different across the two periods, and yeah, Stepanovich was an exciting player, but I don't think they really lacked. After he left, still had some exciting players and surprising ones as well, I guess. But yeah, in a way I can also agree with you that could be a bit disappointing. And yes, they are dependent on these players, but even without them against RFS, they could be competitive, as we saw in that 4-5 game, which is very exciting. So I think it's a good chance for these players, despite the loan status.
Yeah. Speaking of own academies, number 9 is Metta, the proud owners of a derogatory term, kings of relegation playoffs, I think, right?
Yeah.
That would be the translation of that. 33 points, number 9 spot, 8 wins, 9 draws, 19 losses, minus 22 scored to conceded difference, which is not too bad. As you mentioned, it's only 3 points away from number 7, right? So it's not like Metta are falling behind hopelessly. But nonetheless, here they are. Last year they also finished 9th. The year before that they finished last, but it was a bit of a different situation. So there was no relegation that COVID year. And there were other issues that year with other teams in the Virsliga. But yeah, here they are. Metta, for me, started the season really, really well and were really exciting to watch. And at one point, I think we kind of allowed ourselves to get excited and speculating if Metta maybe will get one of those European competition spots somehow if they try really hard. Which was always wishful thinking, but I mean, yeah. And I think right about after that point, they just went into a nosedive all the way to position number 9. Maybe you don't agree with me that Tukums pre-summer and post-summer are different teams, but I mean, surely Metta is.
Yeah, I can agree with Metta for sure. Yeah, I'd say overall, if we're speaking about under or overperforming, a team that underperformed because they are surprisingly good at the start of the season. You could see that their style of play with trying to keep the ball played out from the back and not really just kicking it out the pitch was starting to work out, and then they were surprisingly good and competitive. and not always getting the results, but the style of play, it was there. And, some players really, dominating the pitch and showing themselves from the best sides, especially the two foreign players they had, Korea and So exactly.
So was very good, but what happened to him?
I think an injury. I'm not sure, but yeah, it was sad to see because I think they pretty much changed after they both got injured or for whatever reason were unable to play, and then their sort of bad days started. Just couldn't get the results. Again, not necessarily playing bad, but just lacking. Puzarevskis couldn't really score. Melnis had a very, underwhelming season. Vapne played good, but also I think could have done better.
It's so, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And then it just was a bit, chaotic with them. I think a very good academy, a good system, and their ideology I admire, and it's all there. But yeah, just the Virsliga team, when they started to seem that they have some character and they maybe can finally do it, and in the end it turns out they can't. And I don't know what they should do to sort of break this curse, I guess, but it just seems impossible at this point. Maybe actually, they're gonna have the relegation playoffs now with Skanste. Maybe lose them and, try the same thing. If Skanste comes to Virsliga, it's still actually, Metta, but maybe it's in the name, maybe it's in the, the brand, maybe that needs to change. I don't know, but yeah, it's sad to see because, again, very good club for the Latvian football, but for Virsliga it just doesn't seem to happen for them. Sad to see, but what can you do? What can you do? Still, some players, stood out and got their contracts to other teams, like Bex is part of RFS now. But overall, I don't know what much to say.
I mean, on one hand, if you look at it, so a team that the ethos and sort of strategic development plan for whom is to take local players and develop them. I mean, does it really matter where you are in Virsliga? As long as you are in Virsliga and you have this path for kids, to go through all of their childhood, you can see that, I play with this team and then this team and then Skanste or whatever, and then I can go and play in Virsliga. And maybe just this pathway is enough. So then Metta being number 9 year on year is sufficient. I did hear, I think on the PPK show or maybe somewhere, it's end of season, so there's all of these shows, ours included, who are discussing the Virsliga, and I just try to absorb as many of them as I can before recording to get all the different perspective. But someone speculated that even if Metta loses to Skanste, and Skanste, for if you don't know, is a club in the second division that is not officially a Metta reserve team, but it is a Metta reserve team, so it's part of their academy. It's a bit of a thing why, and we'll not go into that now, but it's basically Metta under a different brand, like some car manufacturers label their cars different in different geographical regions. It's kind of like that. So even if Metta does lose to Skanste, then Skanste is not replacing Metta. They'll just not go up, and Metta will stay. And that was a speculation that someone suggested, which I guess probably, if it does come to that makes sense, right?
Yeah, probably will be the case. But still, I think a lot of Skanste players will have earned their promotion to the main team, and at least it makes Metta exciting to watch next season again, because I know there are some very, very promising players in Skanste, so it will be nice to see them either way in Virsliga next season.
Yeah. And then last, let's be kind and not least, is Supernova, number 10. Managed to get 3 wins, 5 draws, and then 28 losses, minus 71 goals scored to conceded difference, and 14 points, so less than half of what Metta managed. Supernova this season has well and truly been a side to beat. Very, very long streaks without any wins, even without draws. It's just not a guaranteed win, They did manage to defeat Valmiera at one point, and they did manage to almost take points off Riga just
They
now.
did take points off Riga.
So they did draw, yeah.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure.
Pretty much they're responsible for Riga not being the champions.
Yeah. So they were leading 1-0, and then there was a controversial penalty that Riga got themselves, and
Wasn't a penalty, it was just a controversial goal after a corner.
all right. I should
Yeah.
shut up. Clearly don't remember things anymore. But yeah. I remember the controversial bit. So okay.
Controversial goal either way, and then it just shows.
Yeah. Anyway, so in any case, Supernova are relegated again. We'll see if it sticks this time. Last year they also got relegated, but remained in Virsliga on a technicality because a different club dropped out. It seems like now they're going down to second division, being replaced by Grobiņa, which is a team from a town on the outskirts of Liepaja, a very ancient Viking headquarters on the territory of modern-day Latvia, by the way. So
quite similar to what Skanst is to Metta, actually. Pretty much like a second team for Liepaja, but a team who actually wants local players and takes them and works with them.
Well, it's not part of the Liepaja organization, though. So it's part of the Liepaja sports school.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I guess, yeah. But, still, I think there's a lot of, players in transferring from both teams. Krautman, for example, Sidoros started at Liepaja, went to Grobiņa during the season. But, of course, not the same thing, but similar thing. If a player is not maybe good enough for Liepaja, especially a Latvian, you're very likely to see him in Grobiņa.
I think someone outlined the situation as that because Liepaja as a club essentially corked the development pipeline for Latvian players local to this region, and it's not just Liepaja as a city. It's a much broader geographical region that this particular academy system serves. Then club like Grobiņa, and then there was another one lower down in the divisions, Karosta. They emerged so that there is a pathway for these youngsters to go up, because Liepaja is not interested in that for a number of years now. So it's not like the Metta Skanste situation where Skanste is part of the Metta family. It's more of like it's part of the general Liepaja football development ecosystem, but no direct relation to Liepaja as a club.
Fair enough, yeah.
So essentially they're supposed to be coming up, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the next season. But Supernova are going down. I think they got more interesting to observe, to watch, after they got all of those foreign players towards the end.
Yeah, much more competitive after that, and got some results. And just why didn't they do that at the start of the season? Well, I guess to be fair, on paper their squad was actually quite good, and that's why we predicted them to be where Jelgava is now pretty much. But it just wasn't to be, and the chemistry wasn't there, and the
coach was questionable.
Yeah, also, and they pretty much got interesting and competitive when it was almost clear that they are definitely going down. So they brought in some international players for whatever reason, who were actually quite all right, did well, but still not the best results, but had some nice games, and still some players shined from Supernova, Minions especially, and I guess it is what it is for their season. Thanks Supernova for being there trying, but at least the good thing is that they are a club with a system and an academy, so if they go down, they're still gonna play in Virsliga. They won't have any problems. There's a lot of youngsters who playing for them. They won. Their reserves won the Latvian third league comfortably, which means that there's some good backup for them. And I think in a year or two they'll be back up in Virsliga, and no problem for them.
I agree. We'll definitely see Supernova again, which is good. They gained some international fans from our interactions on social media. And actually today was announced, the day of the recording, that Ervin Sperkons, we just talked about him in terms of the man who took Jelgava, squad of youngsters through the years into Virsliga, he has been appointed as sports director of their academy system.
Yeah, huge achievement for the club, and in a couple of years, if he stays there, I think his work will definitely, be good, and then it will show. And maybe if and when Supernova come back into Virsliga, maybe they become much more competitive.
Yeah,
as Jelgava.
So our non-expert advice to Supernova is get a coach who is not we don't want to ruin our clean rating, but let's say is a bit more supportive than the one you started the season with, and maybe get some graphic designer to update your logo a little bit. And then we'll be looking forward to welcoming you back in the top tier.
Exactly.
So that is where we are. RFS number 1, Riga number 2, Auda number 3, Valmiera number 4, Liepaja number 5, Jelgava number 6, Daugavpils number 7, Tukums number 8, Metta number 9, and Supernova number 10. This is as things are at the end of Virsliga year 2023.
Okay, and let's also move on to the top scorers then. Very nice season in terms of looking at top 10, seeing quite a lot of Latvians there, which is not usually the case. And now it seems that, if I'm not wrong, 5, yeah. So exactly half of the top 10 top scorers are Latvians, with the winner being Marko Regža. Very sort of breakout season for him. Has been not that young actually anymore. I think he's 24. Had some years at RFS, didn't really get his playing time. Had the good seasons on loan on Daugavpils. Then let go his contract ended with RFS. Got himself in Supernova. Was semi-decent in Supernova, and got the big breakthrough to Riga, and did not disappoint. 19 goals this season.
Call up to the national team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a good season for him, and 19. That's a very good stat. I think Krolls had more or less season, right? I think he had 24 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
So not as good, and I'd say fair enough, because Krolls was definitely much more visible and overall better than Regža this year. But he was a very good poacher, and knew where to be at the right time, right place. Got himself some assists as well. Yeah, I wouldn't say that he's the best striker in terms of abilities, but still 19 goals speak for themselves. Should say, I think most of them did come against lower side of the table, but still you have to do that as well. And fair play to him, nice to see, and congrats to him.
Yeah, congratulations, Marko. I would say a sensational season, given all the history that you just briefly outlined. This is, this is very much a Cinderella story at this point.
Quite. But still, even considering everything, if I'm now thinking about Regža on the pitch, I can't really see where he got 19 from. Yes, I know he scored some, but no, he wasn't that visible. He just did his job, and 19 is quite an impressive number.
For a striker, being invisible might be an advantage. So there you go.
Yeah. But okay, never mind. It's not. I thought it's maybe like goal every 2 games, but no, it's not exactly that. But still, almost that, and good stat.
Yeah, followed by Jānis Ikaunieks of RFS, who came back from Finland. Didn't have the best start of season, but then contracted an injury which pretty much reset him.
Yeah, exactly.
Like an old computer. And then he kicked into gear. Ikaunieks is a midfielder, so let's not forget that.
Yeah, very attacking one though, but still not as much as striker as Regža.
Yeah, and he's also the penalty taker for RFS.
Yeah, also a good point. Yeah,
and RFS, I don't know if he took all the penalties, but RFS got 8 penalties awarded to this year. So
Definitely at all. Mares definitely would have taken some as well.
for sure.
But also got a lot of assists, Iconics, and he got 15 goals, Regja 19, but Iconics did that in much less games because, as you said, he was out for like 2 months because of injury, so quite a long time. And yeah, it was a good reset because at the start of the season, he couldn't score to save his life. I remember him scoring against Daugavpils, which was, I think, like the 8th game of the season.
Seventh. I remember because he was on the brink of becoming Agent 007.
Okay, yeah, there you go. And and then floodgates opened, and in the end, amazing season for him. Just proved why he's probably the best Latvian player overall. And good of him to get there and pass Ilic as well. Though, of course, Ilic also went away during the season, but still, got himself 14 goals and ended up in the 3rd place of the top scorers, which means that, 2nd, 3rd place, both RFS players.
Yeah. Ilic came to RFS for free 2 years ago.
I think so.
Yeah. And was 2nd, I think, best goal scorer last season.
Yeah.
Just behind Krolis. Was doing well this season. Actually, I think we were looking at this during one of the episodes. He seemed to have been on track to exceed his record, although he's a very uneven goal scorer in Latvia. And then got sold to Valmiera Oslo for 1.3 million euros. Excellent
deal.
Yeah, deal for RFS. And there he is scoring like it's nobody's business at the moment.
Yeah, 9 goals. 9 goals in like 11, 12 games, I think. 7 in the league, 2 in the cup. Very good. And I think it's quite obvious now that if he can do it, not only in Virsliga, but...
Which for me raises many questions about
why
were you holding back?
Yeah, also a good point. But I think, in a couple of years, we probably will see him in the top 5 league. I think I remember I read like one journal, whatever, in Norway compare him to Haaland, which is
better than Haaland.
Yeah, it's probably the best achievement you can get as a striker nowadays. So very good season for him, and considering that still the 3rd best goal scorer of Virsliga, hats off to Ilic, and hope he has a great career, and exciting to see what comes forward for him. And it's always interesting to follow these players of Virsliga who've done very well, as Jokota now. Mena maybe he's not doing that well. He's in Polish 2nd tier, but it's nice to follow them and see where that leads, because turns out Virsliga can be a very good stepping stone, and
that's important. That's important to communicate.
Exactly, and very nice to see.
Yeah. Then goes Dodo of Liepaja, 36-year-old striker.
Quite old now.
Pretty mature.
Just casual for him. Every season he seems to get his 10 or so goals.
Yeah.
Just a good, solid player. I guess good to have around as well.
He was injured for a while as well.
Exactly, and then he's sort of weird. I think his style is quite interesting, unusual when he plays, but I think similar to Regja, he just knows where to be. Right time, right place, gets his goals. I already mentioned, I have no idea how he got 13. I can remember maybe like 3, which just shows that he just gets the job done. But then again, Liepaja was overall not that visible this season, so maybe that's the case. But
I think it shows that you're not watching Liepaja games.
Also maybe a good point. Well, definitely watched some, but just Dodo always seemed to be on the bench. I always contemplated putting him in fantasy, but it seemed that he's not playing, but he was apparently, and maybe should have done.
I had him in fantasy pre-injury.
And
so it was good.
Exactly, but still top 5 for him, so a good achievement.
Yeah, then number 5 is Reginaldo Ramirez de Oliveira Albertino, known as Ramirez.
Yeah, I think in Latvia, Reginaldo Ramirez is basically how we call him. 12 goals. Auda started the season in Riga. Got some goals there as well. I think 3 of them came from being in Riga. Another Brazilian, by the way. Overall, I'd say a very good season for him, because at the start of the season was barely playing in Riga. Then got his sort of, we can call it, a demotion to Auda, but actually it turned out to be sort of a promotion for him. Scored not only in Virsliga but also scored in the European game against Trnava, Spartak Trnava, which is first goal of Auda in Europe, and I think a great achievement. And he's been overall very good this season, and not only scoring goals but scoring some incredible, beautiful goals. So probably the most exciting striker, at least, to watch this season. And 5th place in the top goal scorers. Fair play to him.
Yeah, very good. Followed by Ismael Diomandé, the youngster from Côte d'Ivoire.
Yes, Ivory Coast. Yeah, and also started the season in Daugavpils on loan from RFS. And after he was quite prolific there, got the call up back to RFS. And I think his first game back already scored 2 goals, I think, against Valmiera, and just showed that it was the right thing to do. In the end, 11 goals across both teams, across the whole season. Very good achievement for a player who maybe had a bit of a slow start last season to his Virsliga career. But in the end, seems a very good player, and I think he'll fit even more in the RFS team next season and might be a very crucial player. So the 11 goals will be definitely a very good boost for him.
He's an interesting one, yeah. There's a lot of potential there, for sure. Yeah, it's a bit unclear in what respect, but I know that there's a bit of a language barrier, though, which may be something that's holding him back. He doesn't, from what I understand, really speak anything other than French, which for RFS is okay, because they have Claudio, who's also from Côte d'Ivoire, and I guess he can help translate, but I mean, still not ideal, And 4 of those 11 goals came in a single game against Auda? It wasn't Skonta.
I think he did, I think he scored 4 against Auda.
Yeah.
I completely forgot that,
Scored a poker against Auda in that game.
Very lucky game for him.
What was it, like 5-2 or 5-1?
I can't remember the result.
Something like that.
But it was domination.
When RFS trashed Auda and then just sat back and conceded a couple of goals for no reason, basically. This is followed by Minions. Supernova Salaspils, who was on trial with RFS preseason, didn't make the cut, went to Supernova, and was actually purchased by RFS during the summer transfer window.
More stayed in Supernova. He was there also previous season, but I think what an incredible achievement to score 10 goals when playing in Supernova. A couple of free kicks as well. I remember against Metta he scored some other ones as well, definitely. And always seem to be, these sort of long-range shots. A very good player, definitely best player of Supernova this season. Without him, I think it would have been even worse. It also means that he scored 10 out of 25 Supernova goals this season, which is
almost half,
quite a good ratio. And honestly, hats off to Minions. Carried this team pretty much. And good achievement.
Many of those goals also from direct free kicks. An excellent free kick taker.
Mentioned that. Good.
So I hope we'll see him in RFS lineup next season.
Probably will. But I think to do that, RFS need to get rid of some players, because there's a lot of them in the middle currently. But who knows?
Well, I have one in mind who maybe it's time to move on a little bit due to age and play time. But we'll get to that when we get to that, talking about next season. Then goes Emerson with his 9 goals, Raivis Tirš from Tukums with 9 goals, and then Lizanovs from Daugavpils with 9 goals as well.
I'd say a bit harsh, but for Emerson it's a slow season. I think 9 definitely could have scored more. I think he even started actually scoring towards the end of the season. He had a very average season, I'd say. For his standards, at least, he definitely could do more. But still, 9 goals is all right. Tirš, another player where I just don't know how he managed these goals. I think
penalties.
Most of them were penalties, right? Yeah. And Lizanov's similar. I think also a lot of penalties. Some, normal goals, let's say. But I think also could have done better. Then again, he's playing for Daugavpils. And I think put him in RFS, and I think he doubles that. Well, maybe not doubles that, but I think he could do more. Well, also on loan from RFS, it's what I'm saying that. But so that's the top 10.
Well, we'll see for how long he's on loan from RFS, because he's been on loan from RFS for 2 seasons now.
True.
I mean, at one point you either go up or go out, and I kind of suspect, given performance this season, that the latter might be more possible than it just didn't really open up, or just bad season overall.
Unfortunately, yes, because also seems a good young player, but not this season.
So that is Virsliga 2023. It's been very interesting to podcast about it, and hopefully it was interesting to follow the league with us.